everyone, it's Joel Davis with Home Care Access, and I am back in Ohio with two of my favorite people, Marty and Ginny Rue. Many of you know them. They will probably work with a lot of you, or will be working with many of you soon. You guys have been here for, let's see, your business has been in operation for over 20 years. You've been married for 30, how many years?
7. No way.
God bless you.
Okay.
God bless you. So I came back out here to show them, to give them a preview of our own home care software that is in testing mode, that is in beta form, and they are going to be two of our best testers. We'll talk about that later. But I said, hey, if I'm going to come out here and we're going to preview this software, I'm going to bring the camera crew with me, because even though we talk almost every day, we haven't shot a video together in quite a while. We've all been busy. It is what it is. But I said, hey, let's bring the camera crew back here. And so that means that if I bring a camera crew, I come with questions. Look how they laugh. They're shy and bashful. But I came with questions because even though I probably know the answer to most of these things, I'm sure there's some I don't. For our audience's learning pleasure, I want this to be authentic and on the spot. So don't cheat and don't start looking. That's why I had to get this cover here to protect my questions. Are you prepared?
Fire away.
Are you prepared?
Very.
Awesome. Awesome. So I encourage all of you, watch this entire video. Who knows how long it's going to be? But I got important questions. So don't stay tuned. If you have to watch it in segments, watch it.
I think there's going to be a ton of nuggets.
Amen.
Going on here.
Well, there always is. When we get together, there always is. We always have good topics of conversation. Always appreciate it. So I'm going to start off with general questions.
Okay.
All right. Don't cheat. Tell me, what has changed in the home care industry itself? What have you witnessed? We all know home care industry right now, $55 billion industry. It's projected to go to 100 plus in the coming years. That's a lot of growth. Mm-hmm. So just in the last 2 years, since the last time I brought up the camera crew and we did a big formal production here, what's changed over the last 2 years within the industry itself?
Me? Well, when we discussed it earlier, it's about the numbers. So we have growth, but it's not due to people moving to our state. It's people aging into the system, and most of those are the boomers. So we're seeing those people hit the market and be in need.
Last time I was here, I remember you showed me in your office, you literally had like 500 plus people.
I think it was like 500
in
plus.
your county. It was in your county, right?
Yeah, not our
just
state,
in your
in
county,
our county.
That were waiting to be placed with home care agencies. And I remember you specifically said we can go through and choose anyone we want, but we can't because we don't have enough
Staff
capacity. We don't have the staff, and you guys already have 100 plus caregivers. So
that 500 has grown to 6.
That was going to be my next question.
675 of people that literally are sitting out there waiting for some service for home care. And let's go back to the 500. Those people that were waiting, and this is going to sound, I don't want to sound morbid, the people that didn't get help probably either passed away or were moved to a nursing home. I mean,
so when I was here 2 years ago and we were in your office with that camera crew and you were literally showing me on your computer, many of you watching this, you can go back and watch those videos. You've probably seen it. Where you were showing me those 500. It's not like we're talking about the same 500. It's just a new cycle.
continues to grow.
Yeah. Gotcha. Mm-hmm. Impressive.
I mean, to sit there and having your loved one waiting is, and we've said this many times, these people want to age at home. Mm-hmm. And that's what we give them, that opportunity. And what a shame if your son or daughter, I don't want my mom and dad in a nursing home. I'm not trying to get on a bandwagon, but without the service, that's what happens.
Your personal home care agency, community caregivers, 20 plus years, still growing.
Yes.
Can't argue with it.
Yes.
And growing well.
Yeah.
I should say, not to brag, but it's growing well.
You were so braggadocious.
I am.
It's so
when
offensive.
I know what I'm doing.
Well, we made the point last time too of, you loved the point of that we could hire caregivers, family members.
Huge.
And I'd say in the last 2 months, I've hired 6 family members to be caregivers.
You might want to refresh how that happens. How you get both a caregiver and a client.
Yeah, we have clients, like you said, on the wait list, and if they're waiting that long and their only options are a nursing home and there's no one else to step up, then a family member can be trained and they can become their caregiver as long as they're
So
not.
these people who are sitting on a waiver,
Mhm.
they're waiting on a waiver, they can't get placed. The waiver will allow you to hire a family member who might already be helping that person who's on the waiting list.
Yes.
You hire them as a caregiver. So now you get paid to this person comes off the waiver, is on your roster, and you get to hire the family member to further
And they
care
get
of them.
paid. So
Yeah,
what
it's a
you're
win-win.
doing for the last couple of months for free,
Mhm.
who, number one, would you rather have taken care of you? Son or daughter or somebody?
And that family member that you've now hired as a caregiver can obviously work for you for other people as well.
Yes.
Phenomenal.
Now they're not waiting for service
Mhm.
that's out there. And you can do that, by the way, in 37 states. You can be hired.
Do you hear of any people who are on these? I'm just asking out of curiosity. These people who are waiting on these lists for an extensive period of time. Do you ever hear any like stories of what happens to them? I mean, yeah, some may pass away. Some may end up by default. They're going to have to go to what, a regular traditional
Mhm.
skilled care facility or something, right?
Again, some of these guys can't afford that.
Yeah, or a family member who has money might be able to step up and hire someone
But
privately.
that defeats the purpose. That's why these waiver programs are paying more money,
Exactly.
because at the end of the day, they save money
Hmm.
by getting them placed, letting them stay at home versus putting them in a traditional care facility.
Yes.
And until you've been a caregiver for a parent or whatever, you can't appreciate. I'm already stretched to the max. I can't work because I got to be at home. That solves both problems. I've got 2 kids I'm trying to feed. All right. Well, now I'm going to take care of mom and dad, and I'm getting paid for it. Big difference.
This just came to me. Curveball. Either you can answer this. You hire a family member for someone who's on a waiver waiting to get placed.
Okay.
Okay, so you said you hired 6 of them?
Mhm.
So if you just hired 6 of them, is there ever, and I could be, I have no idea, so you tell me, is there a difference between hiring a family member who becomes a caregiver versus if you, through one of your ads, you just found a caregiver? Can you see, or can you even quantify, are there any data points you could say there's a difference, different level of quality, level of skill, understanding anything? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that people that want to really serve the elderly are the ones that are applying with us. But when it's a family member, there's an emotional attachment there. So
Does that ever become problematic then?
no, it becomes better.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
We're
They're
not,
more
we're not
accountable.
browbeating them to do anything because this is mom. I love
Good
mom.
point. Good
Yeah.
point. All right. So what about though? But that family member who's now become a caregiver, they take care of mom, but now they can also go help Mrs. Smith. What about his or her level of care for Mrs. Smith?
Just as good because they view that as if this were my mom, who they're taking care of at home, they treat them the same. That same
If we
level
had
of
to
care.
rate them, I'd hire 100%
Yeah.
of family members
Really?
because that's what you get.
Folks, this is deep. This is deep. That's not even on my list.
Anyway,
Look at the rhythm and flow. And you were worried about this. Look at you. You guys are superstars.
but I do want to say 37 states. This is not Ohio special. You can do this. And
Now, how would you know 37 states? Are you a resident expert?
yes,
Yes. I concur, you handsome.
I'm
young
not
buck.
being bodacious or whatever. Or anyway,
Braggadocious.
braggadocious. No, that blows me away. Why the one state wouldn't? But unless you're in this business and you deal with different states, you wouldn't know that. That's why I wanted to expound
I agree.
on 37 states. You can do that in this state, that state, this state. You can't. And then there's one other stipulation. I think you cannot be a power of attorney.
Yeah.
That's the one in Ohio.
Mhm.
Every state has way different rules,
I agree.
regulations.
Well, let's talk about that for a quick second.
But everything that we say is not 100% for, these guys are gonna be looking from different states. I just wanna let you know, every state is different.
We'll talk about that as we move forward because every state is different, and you guys are obviously learning about all these different states because there's just lack of continuity,
Mhm.
from state to state. We'll continue to talk about that'll definitely be a common theme as we move forward. What about businesses? Over the again, I want to still talk about the industry itself. I know you guys brush elbows with other agency
Agencies.
providers. What over the last 2 years? More coming on, more leaving, strength, growth. Well, you guys are continuing to grow. You're 20 years into it.
Yeah.
What would you say is the common theme between other
There's
businesses?
a couple of I have a lot of friends in this business. Actually, I have a church fellow who was in a franchise. They're gone.
Over the last 2 years?
Oh yeah, it's
What do you attribute that to?
go ahead on that one. I mean, there's a lot of people that have left.
Obviously,
because
I don't want you to disclose someone else's business per se, but like, what are some of the core fundamentals of why people would be going out of business?
Well,
If demand is growing, it
Yeah.
stands to
Oh my
reason.
gosh, yeah.
It stands to reason everyone should be.
Well,
growing their
unfortunately,
business.
his business model was that he was in a franchise, and that franchise only supported private pay. That he was not allowed to seek out any other payer sources. So for him to stay alive, he had to market and find private paying clients. It's not as easy if you have other options.
There's
So it was
different pots of
difficult.
money coming in that would sustain. It's not all or nothing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this business is not that way.
So he only had one revenue stream.
So the franchise itself, and don't say the name,
Nope.
but the franchise itself mandated you can't go after any type
Yes.
of waiver or.
Yeah, because I think their viewpoint a lot of times on the waivers is it's not their caliber of people they want to represent. So, we don't judge anyone on their payer source or where they're coming from. Everybody deserves the same amount kind of care.
So how long would this guy go out?
About a year and a half. He left. Yeah.
And how long was he in business for?
Since
He's been in business probably 12 years. And it was not a sale. It was close the doors and walk away.
Really?
Yeah. He didn't benefit at all.
you got to have a well-running machine, and this is not just home care. Any business that goes through a crisis, through the economy, whatever, if you're not set up properly, it's all or nothing.
Yeah.
And after 20 some years, we've learned just about everything. What to do when this happens, what to do when that happens. And we've not always been there. And sometimes we sat there and said, our house is on the line. This is years ago. And a lot of these folks went out there and bought themselves a job and lost everything. And I'm not being over dramatic.
I want to come back to that about losing a job, because I know you guys work with a lot of new providers around the country, and they come in at different stages. I don't want to lose that thought. I want to touch on that. So what about mismanagement of funds? Can you see any instances of home care agencies going out of business due to mismanagement of funds, gouging the business? That's something I've definitely seen with transportation, where some of these owners, they start the business.
Oh, sure.
They think because I'm a business owner, so now I'm rich.
I got that tree.
And you're almost using your business as like your own little piggy bank.
Yeah. I mean, in our specific circle, it was someone within our franchise, and he used the agency as a cash cow to buy real estate. So rather than make payroll or buy the items he needed to have his office functioning, he was buying real estate and coming up short for payroll.
For the record, we're not a franchise.
We used to be.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you first started.
Yeah, when we first started. So
Well, we covered that in the previous videos.
Yeah.
Because I don't espouse franchises, and neither do you. And you
No.
learned it from firsthand experience.
yes, bad.
The costly endeavor, folks watching this, do not start a franchise.
There's very few people, because it doesn't sell, that teach operations. They teach sales and income, because that's the warm fuzzy and I can get rich. Unfortunately, you have some folks that do not know business.
Well, let me ask you this. You brought two good key points right there: sales and operations. Demand is growing. There's more and more people, quote unquote, in the queue waiting to be assigned to different agencies. Operationally, how are home care businesses failing operationally, and how are they failing sales wise? Let's start with operations. Tell me how they're operationally failing right now.
For folks are either very new to the industry, they don't understand business operations, or a lot of folks go out and they look for coaching and some mentors. But what
Oh,
sells,
I got some good questions for you later on for that. You watch.
what sells is money.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I'm looking how to grow my business, I'm not going to talk about ops because it's not sexy and it doesn't bring a lot to the table. But if you
Are
don't,
you trying to tell me that all these online marketers are all full of flash and pizzazz? And
no,
content?
only 99% of them. But my point is, if you're going to be coached or consultation, and they do not tell you the operations, to me, that's the biggest sin in the world out
Sure.
there. These are people that they care about the elderly. This could be a dream come true, but they do not have the skill set. The stuff that me and Jeannie take for granted, they don't know.
It's like the
And-
fundamentals of business.
But
like
operations-
101 agency. ownership.
about-
Nobody takes that. But go ahead.
These demand is continuing to increase. More and more people in the queue. Tell me where people are failing from a sales perspective. That's a trick question there for a reason. Where have you seen home care agencies fail due to poor sales, and yet demand is increasing?
I'm trying to get the question.
It's
Are
a
you
trick
saying-
question. It's
are
a
you
trick
saying,
question.
How do they fail with sales?
Have you seen any home care agencies they're failing because we just talked about operations and sales. Sales wise, where are agencies failing when it comes to sales? The trick is, guess what? If people are sitting in the queue, I don't even need to sell because they're already there.
Right.
You
Built a
could go spend
business.
$65,000 for a marketer that doesn't work. And I'm being cocky.
I
but
know, but hey, that was actually on my list
I'm
of
just saying.
questions because I was going to tip on that. Totally jumping ahead.
We haven't got to VA or to waiver or MCOs. We do not have a marketer. We've never had a marketer. I think we had a marketer, my son, for 2 weeks, and we let him go. He was joking, but we've never had a marketer per se. Somebody that 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, you pay them $62,000. The reason I say $62,000 is in America, the average marketer for home care, that's what you pay.
So this goes to my trick question I just asked you. Do you see agencies going out of business right now? Because look, if I'm paying $62,000 for a marketer,
Mhm,
that's going to hit the bottom line.
mhm.
So what's the ROI on that?
I don't want to beat up, but to go back to the franchise, there was a point we were making nothing, but because this is a payroll company,
Yeah.
we were spending $6,000 a month. So the franchise making tons of money because you pay from the gross. They could care less if you're making any money. So
This is why everyone goes after. I know we're taking a left turn here, but this is why everyone goes after people's payroll.
oh my God,
They love the payroll.
$80,000 a
moneymaker.
month is not
All these
absurd
people
amount.
offering, because you get the people out there offering, we'll give you the free software, we'll give you the free this, we'll give you the free that, but we have to process your payroll.
And I wonder why, because they make the money.
On
You
the
know.
payroll.
Mhm.
It's a
Remember
big
the old,
switch.
why do you rob banks? That's where the money is.
So you're talking about your guy who went out of business about a year and a half ago who was private pay. That's really who I was kind of directing my question at. Is he losing at the operation and sales point? Because at the end of the day,
Yes.
he's going after
Yes.
private pay. And if you, I love my private pay, high price point, good
Sure.
ROI, but you got to go out there and solicit and market that business. And that's where the market
We
is.
went
And the
this way.
problem is, though, if you hit an economy like we've seen in the last
Sure.
few years, where what happens to private?
I agree.
People are going to hold their money back.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
And there's nothing wrong with private. There's
No, I mean,
There's nothing wrong with any, as long as you discreetly put them in the right place. This bucket, this bucket, this bucket. If you do not have 4 buckets, and I have 1, and the economy goes, that my whole livelihood, franchises are about 35 grand plus about another 200,000 build out. Think about this guy. Hope he doesn't get this tape because I love him. No, I'm serious. That money's not the toy.
I agree.
Anyways.
And if you're paying for a marker, that's 62 grand.
Yeah.
coming
Minimum.
off your bottom line.
Mhm.
I'm not negative on marketers. I just know I'm in all the circles for home
Sure.
care,
No, I
and
get
I hear these guys going, "What'd you get after 3 months? What'd you get?" And there's some great ones out there, but these guys are waiting for 6 months to say you're fired. Anyways,
Yeah.
I'm just upset because there's a lot of non-skilled marketers that call themselves
Yeah.
marketers that say, "I know this business," and they don't.
But again, I go back to your business model. You guys do private pay too, but you guys are marketers.
Oh my
But you
God.
guys have also been in the marketplace for over 20 years. So you already have relationships and you guys do a lot of waiver. And now, one of the reasons I really came out here was to talk about VA.
I do have to interrupt for a second.
Well,
Did we answer the trick question?
yeah, but I
answer.
had to lead you down the path though. The trick is you guys do so much waiver work and the demand is just continuing to increase.
Mhm.
You don't even have a sales force per se because it's all right there. It's like
And-
fish in a bucket.
The private pay comes from if you have 100 waiver people, VA people, they all have. They're in the same
Exactly,
building and they talk.
Yeah,
So even though they're not going to be waiver, they're going to be private. This firm is, oh my gosh, I
Yeah.
love this guy. So we get
sure.
just by being there, we have
Referrals.
referrals.
All right, I know we dodged and bobbed and weave all over that one. Moving on to the next chapter. All right, so you guys are awesome. You're my peeps. People contact us. They love us. They love you guys. Working with all these different people around the country here. Some providers all in the same state. Multiple people in the same state. Over the last 2 years since we launched Home Care Access, what have you learned? We're transitioning from talking about the industry to what have you learned in working specifically with and mentoring all these different client providers around the country? What have you guys
You want to
learned?
bring it up? You want?
You can go.
And I repeat myself, every state is different in everything for the caregivers, for financials, referrals, and to break into a state. I'm not going to say how much time. I have no idea, but it's a ton of time to sit there and know who, what, when, where. Oh my gosh, this one. We have a gentleman that waited till the very day because he had a 6-month window to get a client.
Yeah.
He was in risk of losing everything he did without knowing that reg. And in Pennsylvania, it might be 40 days, and in California, it might be 120 days. This is a network. You know,
Let me
you get
drill
to know.
down that just a little bit. So let's say Pennsylvania, for example.
Okay.
2 years ago, when you were working with someone from Pennsylvania, the rules may have been this. Over the last 2 years, have the rules just within Pennsylvania, have they changed at all? I mean, I know they're different from state to state, but within each state, are you seeing any changes within the state? I mean, lots happened.
I know that you don't talk about politics. Politics has changed everything. This is a big item, home care. Home care right now, I'm just going to throw this out. I think it's 60% of our national budget, Medicaid, Medicare, home care. The government's looking at these folks and know it's a problem. So they've thrown money at this problem.
Yeah,
And it
But-
seems like they're going more towards the unified system.
I know.
But you get the
Because-
guys from Texas versus Oregon, it's night and day. I mean, it's totally night and day.
But Ohio was non-regulated. You didn't need a license to participate in Ohio. Now you have to have a license.
Everything's,
So
when you say
even
what's
our own
changed,
state is
So
changing.
here's, that's why. Look, I knew. Look, I've worked with people in the home care industry for what seems like almost forever. But again, we always focused on private pay.
Mhm.
We stayed away from a lot of the waiver stuff. We definitely stayed away from the VA for many reasons, which has now changed. But so I always knew that the rules and regulations were different by state. But now things are actually changing within each state rather quickly.
we had people calling us that have been in business with franchises for 20, 30 years maybe. How do I get a license? Could you walk us through their own state?
Yeah.
They didn't know how to do it. And they didn't even know they needed
How
it.
about even like a state like Oregon? Oregon is an absolutely crazy state for many reasons. I mean, their rates of reimbursement are like, what is going on there?
They're
They're
one of the
incredible.
highest.
We would move over. No, I wouldn't because I don't like the weather.
But their
It's
rates
like
of
night and
reimbursements
day.
are unbelievable.
Yeah.
I won't say the rates, but it really is from nothing to the best rates in the country
Yeah,
for Oregon.
that's incredible. That's how quickly they've changed.
Now, they did have a moratorium, if that's the right word. You had to be in the union. Again, people don't know this. So if you moved to Oregon and you wanted to
But didn't
go,
they get rid of that though?
yeah, they're gone. The people spoke, and I'm not pro or against.
It's hard enough trying to. Everybody, every business, every industry has a labor problem. It's hard enough. They had to throw that out. If you're
And
gonna get
there's-
anybody to work, you got to start to remove some of the
my
barriers.
point is, you just can't go to Oregon and start up without knowing Oregon.
Mhm. What about you, young lady? What type of things have you seen change just over the last 2 years after working with all these different client providers?
I think that knowledge is huge with ours. The willingness to participate and
Give me an
understand what they're getting into. I feel like we've maybe because a lot of them have been associated with you in the past and they have a good work ethic. It
Very
seems
good.
like they are more structured in the line of business already. So they're
Good.
eager to learn, they're focused.
So those client providers who are diversifying their AMT business, getting another business going, i.e. home care, the ones that you're working with, you're
Mhm.
saying they're further ahead when
Yes.
you're working with them?
They're
Yes.
80% there, and I could go on and on why, but if they
Well,
have,
please do tell.
you paying me?
What makes so? This is a good question. I mean,
Here's the
this is a
biggest-
good topic.
It's relationship. And I'm not talking home care. I'm talking anything in the world, businesses, relationships. And to throw some numbers, let's say that you need to go to a facility. It usually takes you 12 visits or images in front of them to get one referral.
That makes sense.
Could it take 8 months? Now, when you wake up to them, that's your feeder source of a hospital or assisted living. If I already am doing business with a facility and they love me, why would they not? Hey, listen, we've
Yeah.
seen over the couple of years, these people need home care also. Mrs. Jones, you know her, she came in. So, in an analogy, instead of starting at ground zero, they are 80% there on the most important item, if that
The
makes sense to you.
relationships.
Yes, the relationships. You should be able to walk in and say, listen, you love us for transportation.
Sure.
You're going to really love us for that. And let me show you how we get together. I don't think they realize how
That's
far
a-
ahead they are when I talk to some of
That's a
these.
good point. Very good
Mhm.
point. That's a very good point. What about? Let's drill down on that a little bit. Tell me more about your experience with some of the client providers coming in from the NEMT industry and their level of business acumen and business skill and level of motivation, things like that.
I think it's like Marty always says, his term is economies of scale. So there's a lot of similarities. A lot of it is symbiotic. It's
Mhm.
just easy for them to transition from one to the other. So they have a little bit of an advantage there than somebody coming on that has none. It's not that they can't be done. It's just they are so much further ahead because they really understand business. They get it.
What about some of because I know we got some people who came into the system who are already in the home care industry. They have experience. Basically, the timeline is broad. I mean, all these people who you guys are working with around the country, they're coming in at different points. Some are absolute
Go from
newbies.
0 to 10, and it's on every point.
Yeah.
And we'll meet you wherever point you are. If you're at 8, I don't need to teach you 0 to 8 and spend money on that. Let's hit the ground running on 8. Does that make sense?
Completely. So over the last 2 years, you're working with a lot of different people, different states, different systems, different applications, different methodologies. If a newbie coming into our system right now, how well are they adapting to what you're doing?
It depends on their experience, right?
Well, that and how much, it's just that issue of getting information. If the more information we can pull from them, the quicker we can help them. So the more responsive they are to us and the questions that we ask, the quicker we can get them.
What about going through, like, again, I know every state's different, but application process, getting all the filings and things like that. How are they more responsive, less responsive? Are you having to pull teeth? What are you seeing with some of the different
It's a
people?
variety pack, I'd say. It is. It's a mishmash. But again, the clearer we are with what we need to move forward,
Mhm.
the quicker they are to get us those results.
All right, this is a good question. This one just came to me. What about you're working with all these different people, different agencies, different waiver programs, you're making all these connections and contacts. How much has that been able to help you, whether it's a newbie, someone who's already been in the business, they're looking to grow, expand, move forward, scale, what? How much of the relationship you guys have been building with different agencies and different government programs around the country, how much has that been able to help you move people forward?
There's a couple of programs out there, and you have the relationship, and I'll call Susie, and hey, I want to credential this person, I want to get a license. Susie just won the lottery and she quit. And hey, Susie, we were here. Oh, no, you have to do this and this. No, you understand. We're training the trainers out there. The relationship, what I'm being sarcastic is the relationship is what seals the deal. And if you don't have that
Your relationship with that person at the government agency level or
Sure.
the waiver program or something like that.
Yeah.
if you have to start from scratch, we've paid our dues. It's 20-some years. It would take you months and months, and people do that, and I commend them for that. But you're buying time is what you're
Do
buying.
you ever, here's a good question. Do you ever have problems if you guys were talking with, let's say, Tina from ABC Waiver out of, let's say, Virginia? And now Tina took a promotion. She no longer works there, or she won the lottery, like you just suggested, and she quit her job. And now Tina is replaced by Jennifer. Now you got Jennifer. And what do you got to do? You got to start all over. What do you do?
It's a learning curve. Maybe Jennifer is educated, maybe she's not. But there are things that we can teach her that maybe she's unaware of.
Jeannie has taught, when I say taught, she has fought for our client on some issues that the higher ups didn't understand. And instead of just saying, this is it, they were trying, will you explain the story?
Yeah, the most recent, since you brought up VA, that's the one. We have a client who's been with us for probably 15 years, and his family wanted extra hours. The waiver program didn't want to give any more. They were maxed out. So his other resource was he was a veteran. So they looked into the VA program, and there was a bit of paperwork that they did because they were doing it themselves as a family. A lot of time, effort, digging up old paperwork. You know, they have to be solid that he was a vet and go through all of the processes. And then he finally gets established that he can receive these benefits through the VA, and his case manager through the waiver program says, well, then he doesn't need home care through waiver. We'll take that out then, now that he's getting VA. And my point was, wait a minute, these are both earned benefits
Sure.
for him. Why does he have to give up one to receive the other? He qualifies for both.
Makes sense.
So it was a bit of a war, but for now we've won, and he's receiving both.
Good.
My point was, there's a lot of folks in the system that they're not as knowledgeable as they probably should be.
So when you are working with a client provider, let's say he or she, our client provider, is trying to get licensed, get accredited in Virginia, West Virginia, whatever state you want, I don't care. Do you tell me about some of the problems, resistance, learning curve that you experience when you're working for a client provider to get their application in, get this approved, get licensed here, get licensed there?
When you go into a state that you don't know, it's going in blind. Some states are a 6-month process, some are in 3 weeks. Until you do the research, I don't know where to go. It's government, and I'm not saying that to put that down, but there's so much bureaucracy out there. And Susie just knows her job to pick up the phone. Mary says, no, there's this authority you have to go to. To learn a state was probably our biggest learning curve, to sit there and get those relationships with those key people that can say, no, you have to go down to this department. Don't you think?
Yeah, and I think licensing is easier to accomplish for us now because we understand the process. There's
Us being home care access.
Oh
yes,
my gosh,
as in
yeah.
home care access, because you know the key pieces of information that are required. Okay, so we know those ones. They're going to ask for those in every state, pretty much, but you have to know what those are. And then the additional ones, like Marty's saying, that you have to kind of dig up and figure out. And then it gets deeper if they want to pursue waivers. So it gets a little more complicated. It becomes more convoluted. So
We actually had a client that you have to do 8 hours of this certain program. And we did not know that at the time. unless you were this far down, you wouldn't know that. Right now, you sit there and it's a 2-minute program that we can get through. So knowledge, skill set, and network.
So I guess I kind of to drill down a little bit further on that, because I know that we work with a lot of people in the same state. Let's say we're in I don't know, pick a state, North Carolina, and we got 4 client providers in North Carolina. How much easier was it to work with that second, the third, and the fourth client provider after you went through that learning curve in the first one?
I think it's a lot easier. Like I said,
It's night and day.
Yeah.
Again, what we try to do is we get this template down, and we know A is this one, and then B is this one. Oh, you need to do the 8-hour course on this one. It's huge. I don't know how long it took. All I can say is we can do a lot of these states with their eyes closed. And I'm not bragging. Say it's just after you've been through. It's like doing a software program. You can read the book all you want, and until you're in it doing it every single day, you're not going to really learn until you're immersed in all that stuff.
What about, you ever have any hassles with some of these case managers or people you're talking with in the government agencies? They ever like give you any hassles over anything, or what?
She goes down and beats the heck out of them, and they're fine. Go ahead.
No, I mean, for the most part, they're helpful.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Their job is to take care of the elderly. They might not be the best business people, but their heart is, I need to help Mrs. Jones.
Yeah.
So.
What about anything else come to mind? What other things have changed over the last 2 years since we first started bringing on client providers and helping them launch their home care business? What else do you think? What have you guys learned? What have you learned about working with them directly, structuring things, and allocating your time, things like that?
It's kind of like a puzzle of taking this person, whatever their background and whatever their knowledge is, to where we have to plug them in. It's kind of a dating game to sit there and say, okay, we'll get you here. Where do I start? We have some clients that, all right, we're going to show you how to get an LLC, or we'll do that, which is like number one to get a business from the state.
Sure.
And we have some that have done that 3 months ago. I guess I'm kind of rambling. I'm trying to get to your point as far as what we learn. Everything is basically built itself on knowledge and doing it.
Sure.
Wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Repetition.
Repetition.
What about for our one-on-one clients? How often are you guys talking to them? How often do you correspond through email? Do you talk to them?
According to me or according to her?
We're emailing constantly. It's a constant email situation, which is great.
No, I live and die by email,
Yeah.
so I'm all
Now,
for
you
it.
got to keep in mind, when we started the business, she was 24/7. So they call at 4 a.m. So for a client to call, I'm not saying
You're
please
talking
don't
about
do
We're
that.
talking
community care.
Yeah.
Caregivers,
But
yes.
for a home care, we talk a lot.
Yeah.
They want, they don't need babysitting, but they need encouraged. And they want to them, this is their biggest stumbling block. They're looking to get income.
Sure.
And it's very important to them. So if it's
Yeah.
a 911 call,
Our policy is really just email us. Just email us. Anytime you think of something, just email us. We'll respond. But we do have phone calls that we participate in with them. And those are always fun. I always enjoy those because you really feel like you get to know.
it's an aha moment
Yeah.
when you give them the answer they're
Yeah.
looking for.
Yeah.
So a lot of clients have come through, used us, they're off doing well. Like I always tell people, look, because obviously we have large client database that keeps growing. So God's blessed us. It is what it is. But a lot of them, look, if you don't stay in contact with us, then it's like, we're not going to chase you down.
Yeah.
So it's not that you or anyone's doing anything wrong, but you kind of lose touch because you're getting busy. We're busy. Okay, it is what it is. So if they don't stay engaged with us, it's tough for us to monitor their progress of where they are. So I know that's happened with some of the people who've already come through over the last 2 years. Their 120 days of coaching is up, expired. They keep moving forward. But a lot of people have also kept you on retainer. So these people who have been working with you perpetually, how often are you engaging with them?
Well, again, emails as often as we like that they like to submit questions and things, but a weekly call.
It's usually a 911 call, and it's very important. And they know us, they trust us. So it's not like, let's get to know each other. They've already worked with us for 120 days. So, hey, here's my problem. What do I do? Thank you till the next 911.
Yeah. No, I get it. I get it. I know we're going off script, but
Yes, we are.
what else you got? What about, let me ask you this. What about the different level of motivation from some of the client providers?
Well, there's some that already have an existing business. So they're kind of, focused on that, but yet trying to get this up and running. So it's nice in a way because it floats their business. They're not out of money at
Sure.
any level, but they're a little less focused on the home care because, that's what kind of, I think the mindset is that's what we're kind of paying you for, but we need their participation
Sure.
also.
Totally.
So they have to stay focused.
Not to be mean. We can tell you exactly what to do tomorrow too. But if you don't do that, I can't do it
Totally
for you.
agree.
And we
Totally
won't.
agree.
And I don't promise that.
Totally agree.
But that's the problem that we have is going, now you have to do this because
Totally.
it's a domino effect. Well, you didn't do that, cause this. And like I said, I can't do it for them.
You know, and then when everything collapses, it's your fault.
Always is.
That's crazy. I know. All right. Big topic of conversation I want to move
Okay.
into. The VA.
Okay.
The VA is not the VA of old. Back in the day when we were working with home care agencies, we would always steer people away from the VA. Too cumbersome, too long, too much bureaucracy, too much red tape, low ROI, and you're stuck waiting forever for your money.
Mhm.
It's not worth it. VA is completely different now.
It's completely turned around. Everything that you just stated is the exact opposite now.
People have ran from this industry. I think when we started, maybe about 5 years after that, the VA sounded like this phenomenal
I remember. Yeah.
deal. A lot of people have went under then because they had $100,000 on the streets, and there was something like 6 months before
Yeah,
they
they
paid.
were
VA was
getting
slow.
You can't
reimbursed.
run unless you're rich. You can't run a business
Yeah,
that way.
it's
Yeah.
killing cash flow. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard all those horror stories of
Yeah.
VA.
And I
I
don't-
tell my people, don't even waste time with that.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
Specifically
they
for reasons
must.
like that. Because even if you get registered, even if you get approved, even if they promise you they're going to pay, even if you render service, how long is it going to take for you to get your money? And you can't even sustain it. But that's all changed.
Yeah.
I don't know who the year and the politicians that changed. I think the wars helped out, but they've really focused on the vet. What does he need? Home care is such a huge thing.
A lot of it goes back to the deregulation. They started to deregulate it. Because
Changed everything.
before, if again, I'm a vet, VA benefits, all that kind of good stuff, you literally have to travel to a VA clinic. Now, what they're doing is, at the end of the day, why don't you stay local rather than wasting your time traveling, especially if you're rural?
Yeah.
Why don't you stay local, go to a local clinic, go to a local hospital, and the VA will just reimburse them.
It's changed everything because they focused on the need. There's a different program that's out there that it's phenomenal. It's changed the whole dynamics of the VA, but I don't want to go too far into
I
it.
understand. But rates of reimbursement have changed. Rates of reimbursement.
Can I give
changed.
numbers or no?
Give some numbers, but don't be too crazy specific.
Private, well, let me just, if you're looking at this pot of money, reimbursement rate's around $22. If
You
you're
look at a
looking,
waiver. That's a waiver.
well, you got waiver, you got MCO, managed organizations,
Managed care organizations.
yes. And then you have the VA, and I don't know how deep you want me to go, but the rates are about $32 per hour versus 20.
But VA will vary based on location,
Mhm.
Oh my
even
gosh.
within the state.
Yeah.
I don't have that number in my head, but it goes from 32 to $120 in the whole across the country. There's some states where the whole state, there's some states where
So
each individual county is
So the whole
different.
state would have a uniform rate of
Some.
reimbursement,
Some states.
Some.
and then other states is broken down by county.
Yes.
One is $32 here, and 20 miles away is $72. 20 miles away. How they
You
do
said-
that,
you
I
said
don't know.
32 and 72.
Reimbursement rate.
So you're saying for 1 hour of care, for every hour of care you render for VA, you're getting in this specific area over here, you're getting $72.
Yeah, it stays.
Even that $32 an hour is like phenomenal.
Mhm.
That
That's-
beats any waiver.
That's more money than we've had for
$32 is like the higher end even of private pay.
Yes.
No, it's the highest end for private pay. I don't
is.
know that many people
I've
are.
seen some 35.
Well,
Just
you
depends.
hang on with very rich people, but
I've actually seen some private pay at 42.
yeah.
But that's a topic for another day.
Average though is between that 20 and 25
Yeah.
for waiver and private. But the VA, and again, if you need to get a good quality caregiver, it's a lot harder at 18 to 20 bucks versus now there is a big, and I don't want to hide it, it's huge out there. The workers are not out there, not for the smaller amounts of pay. But you can-
100%.
but
And that's the thing is that if we know this is a $55 billion industry, it's going to go to 100.
Mhm.
You got increased demand. We got low capacity because we don't have enough workers. They're gonna have to throw money at it to get more
Right.
caregivers.
they asked her to
Bottom
be
line.
in front of the board. I forget about what's the problem? How do we do? So
So yeah, your focus then goes to what is your return on investment? What's your highest return? So that's where you focus.
if I only have 5 opportunities and I can do one that eliminates the 4, and that's a whole ton of variables, payroll, legislation. Anyways,
So now that the VA is legitimately, I call it, you guys know, I refer to the VA of old and the VA of new. So
Mhm.
now that we got this new VA and it's a legit opportunity, what's Home Care Access doing for VA? How are we helping our client providers get this money?
only because of time. It really is very intricate, and the verbiage is different. So I just wanted to talk about VA versus waiver.
Okay.
But when I talk about VA, there's different pots of money. It's a big learning curve for certification.
So you can't just Susie who wants to start her own home care agency. I'm just going down to the VA clinic and asking for customers.
Yeah, just because you're licensed in the state to participate as an agency, a home care
Mhm.
provider, doesn't mean you can provide for VA.
We had a client come out of her seat, and she said, "Oh, I already have VA." I said, "You did?" I asked her a couple of questions. "You're lying." I said, "No, I'm not lying." She almost came out of the phone going, "I want," and had her, now this is bragging, had her certified in about a week.
In a week.
I think it's a week 2. You know what? I don't want to
See,
say
that's-
something that's not true.
Even if
It's
it
a
was
bit-
2 weeks, that's still crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
again, back in the day,
It
you're
was
looking
not
at
over
6
2
months
weeks.
to a year for
Yeah.
for the old VA. You're looking at
Mhm.
6 months to a year
There's
just
some
to get
people that
certified
are
for
trying to be, that we know, they've been on for a year waiting to be certified. And again, it gets difficult because there's this side of the country and this side of the country. And do you know this middleman? You start learning about bureaucracy real quick when
Sure.
you do this.
Yeah.
But this person, you had to contact this person to talk to this person to talk to this person.
It's a bit
And
of
she
a
goes,
web.
"Who are you talking about?" So I'd say this name. It's a huge
So
web.
this kind of goes back to one of the questions I had earlier. When you got your web of people you got to communicate with, when you're talking on behalf of one of our client providers, what happens in this web of people when Tina gets a promotion, she leaves that web and now she's replaced by Jennifer? How much does that influence that web of knowledge and the database?
I
that you
gotta
have
go
going on?
back to the beginning, but then I go to this guy and say, "Hey, by the way, Sarah said this part."
You ever find yourself in a situation where you tell Jennifer, actually, Jennifer, that's not how we do it. You actually do it like this.
You have to do it with kid gloves because they're gonna go, "You know what? I don't need you, Marty." Click.
True, true.
So yes,
That's
we-
like you don't want to be bumping heads with.
no,
these
but
dogs.
these guys help us.
Yeah.
There are vendors per
Sure.
se.
And
You know what I'm saying?
ultimately, they want you as a provider.
Oh my gosh,
Quality providers, they want those.
It's a good point. That's a good
So
point.
that makes them look good when
Because
they
they're having a hard time getting people placed.
yeah, and rumor has it that if you say no to clients coming through the VA, they kind of put
Good
you down
point.
on the list,
Good
going,
point.
well, they're not really a receptive agency.
Good
Yeah, you
point.
better be ready.
So you
And
have
that's
to
what
be
we were
ready.
telling all our people. When that phone call comes, you gotta be
Have
ready.
your staff in place, ready to go.
But in a nutshell, this new VA is a game changer.
Agreed.
And if I had to
Agreed.
say the one I hate to put money at it, but it's money, because money buys you better caregivers, it buys you a better business, it buys you a better operations. It's a game changer.
So if someone comes to you and says, "Hey, how do I find out my VA rates of reimbursement in my area?" What do they do?
I'm not being cocky, but just for that one VA, it's worth $1 million. Just this one.
What do they do? How do they find
night.
out? If I'm in, whatever name the city. How do I find out the rates? I'm in Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh, PA, and I'm going to start my own home care agency. I want to find out my VA rates.
Now you said I'm cocky. I'd sit there and tell me what state you want to know, and I'd know in about 3 seconds. Seriously.
So what I got to do? I got to call Marty.
You gotta be nice to Marty.
Call
No,
me.
literally, I could tell you, and it literally, and I'm quoting ranges, not exact, but it's anywhere from 32 to I think $175 throughout the whole country. Every state.
All right, I just got to know who's paying the $107 an hour.
I don't know, but we're talking about moving. No.
That is absolutely.
And this is a chart that's legit. It's not somebody just throwing darts.
Yeah.
Literally, we have availability to find out every state, every county in the country. Which is when I'm saying that amazes me that we can do that.
Ohio, we can just quote Ohio right now because that's where we're at. Right now, Ohio's reimbursing about $30 an hour, every
32.
hour for a
I think you're
caregiver.
right. I saw it was 32
Yeah.
now.
And the nurse is getting reimbursed at $129
Will you
for
expound
that
on that part
nursing visit.
with the soup visits?
Yeah, a nurse has to open the case and oversight the case every
The
so
visit
often.
is a supervised.
Super, I'm
Mhm.
sorry,
Visit,
supervisor
yeah.
visit.
Which has to be done by a registered nurse.
Yeah.
So they're gonna reimburse that in Ohio anyway. That nurse visit is gonna be reimbursed at about $129.
Versus-
In Ohio, it was none until recently. In the last, I'd say 4 or 5 years, where they're starting to reimburse at
Wow.
about $40.
So see, this goes back to all my questions. What's changed in the last 2 years?
That's
forget that was a
crazy.
bit.
That's
You
a
could
biggie.
you could have a business just on nurse visits
Mhm.
because of the change.
This is crazy.
Yeah, we.
Crazy good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Again, people are focused. This is a need, and the voters are going to say, "Mom, the baby boomers are coming, and they have a lot of power."
So any of you watching, you want to know what your rates are for VA in your area? Contact Marty.
Mhm.
Tell me about your database then, because our database for HCA has just got to be phenomenal. Just in the changes we're talking about and all the different people you're working with in different cities and counties and waivers and MCOs and VA. I mean,
It's pretty logical that the first one is the learning curve, 2, 3, 4, 5, and pretty soon you can just stay with your eyes closed. So it's a learning curve as you get in there. Now the VA and some of the waivers.
What's your phone book look like? I mean, you guys just got like
it's getting thicker and thicker.
I mentioned Rolodex to my kid, and he goes,
yeah,
What?
you don't know. It ain't on a phone. You don't know.
But
Man.
it's all I want to do is say it literally is a game changer.
Tell me about your relationships with VA, because I agree, VA game changer, no doubt. Tell me about the relationships, because I'm all about the VA. I'm all about the new VA. We've had conversations before, our client providers, and doing this and everything. Tell me about the person watching this right now, how would you describe the home care access relationship with the VA right now?
Again, you got me stumped because you keep on calling me bragging, but we do a lot of good. I can make the phone call. Like I said, so you got this department, that department, that department, that department. We send them business.
Yeah.
They love us, and so we have a good relationship. And again, we are the real deal. I'm not trying to.
All right, so the person watching this, just so they clearly understand, it behooves these waiver programs, the people running it, it behooves the VA, it behooves them to do everything possible to get these people placed.
Yeah.
They get money for it. They do other stuff for it.
And they keep their job at the end of the
Sure.
day. That's your job.
It comes down to money.
Mhm.
What's in it for them? Some people want payroll, some people want this, but the more people they get, everybody's happy. But in the long run, these vets that paid their dues are
Yeah,
getting
no,
the
I
home
agree.
care that they're supposed to get. I do have a sheet that I don't know if I showed you, but there's a big difference between your average and what the new VA is. Let's say some people have 5,000 hours a month. Everything in this business is hours, as I told you. To create the same amount of income, you might need 1,800 hours. And I know that doesn't much if you're not in this business, but it's huge. I have half the caregivers, I have half the payroll, I have half. So basically, you don't have to do twice as much.
And I want to be clear. This is still personal home care, non-medical personal home care,
Strictly.
right? So this isn't even like, home health care where we're
No,
gonna.
no. The government
This is-
screamed, this is non-skilled personal care.
Yeah.
Well, explain. And then you want to go that deep about
We've
personal
covered
care?
that in previous videos. People watch the other videos.
Sorry.
Good content. Good content. Big difference between non-medical personal home care and medical home care. So, all right, waivers, the bomb, awesome. VA, the bomb, awesome. Private pay, hey, awesome.
Waiver.
What?
Every year, the waiver keeps on, they're throwing money at it again. So waivers are going up too,
Awesome.
across the country.
So do we still call that low-hanging fruit?
No, what you call is I don't have to train a marketer and I get
That's the
money for
big
that.
thing. That's the big thing.
That's a huge thing.
I don't think people watching this, you don't understand how phenomenal it is. I mean, I can literally go to your office and pop open your screen and literally see the portals of the people sitting there. You told me a story about the one of the waivers had a person trying to get placed for 85 hours a week.
A week. Mhm. 85 sitting there waiting to be taken.
All right, why aren't you taking that one?
Number one, it's pretty far from where I am at. In my county, it's really far. On
You don't
the
have the
edge.
people.
And the
85.
people to
How
go.
many,
that
how many
far.
hours are there in a week? What's that?
40 is what you want. Anything over that is time and a half, and you have to observe that. So you want to
No doubt.
work that case
We have
with
people
at
that
least 2
take
people.
a 2-hour shift. This is 40. This is their whole
Yeah.
budget that they could have tomorrow.
84 hours
Yeah.
a week.
Mhm.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Again, they want to do the math, 84
But
hours.
that's 84 hours for one
One
client per week.
per week. Mhm.
And if Susie is their caregiver, she doesn't have to know 40 different places. She knows Bessie is the mom. Everything's so much easier. Again, kind of economies of scale. But there's not a new learning curve. 84 hours when we first started was amazing.
Oh, my people. Are you ready for some rapid fire questions? I know we did a little left turn, right turn, and kind of off travel a bit, but hey, I'm known for rambling.
All right, go ahead.
Are you ready for some rapid fire?
Yes,
Okay.
go for it.
All right. Tell me about fake nurses.
That was something that came up fairly recently in the last few weeks. There was an investigation that was brought out in the news that there was at least three companies that produced college degrees for people who wanted to be nurses for a fee. So they never attended college, never went to any classes, never gained any of the knowledge, but they paid for a degree, and then with that degree in their hand, they applied to take the nursing board. And a lot of them passed the nursing board, believe it or not. You can take it multiple times too. So I laugh at that because it's like crazy to think that somebody would do that, and then you're in charge of someone's health and their life. I mean, these are nurses that might be working in intensive care,
This was
nursing
a national
homes.
problem. This wasn't just a local.
It's all
this was
over.
national.
So they produced, to my knowledge, it was 7,000.
How much of this is spurred on by the people?
The shortage.
Yeah, I mean,
I think that's a lot of it.
that is
And
crazy.
unfortunately, I think the word got out there about how much traveling nurses were paying
Yeah.
and the increase
Yeah.
in the hourly rate alone that just escalated.
What would happen if one of our client providers hired one of these fake nurses and didn't even know?
I mean, ultimately, the only thing you can do is your due diligence. You're only as good as your policy. So you would be checking on that license anyway. But that's all that you could really do. There's no way to disprove that she did
But
this.
this goes back to operations. Are they background check?
Mhm.
Did they check the referrals?
Right.
A lot of people want to take the shortcuts. There's
How would that lawsuit look like if you had a fake nurse working for you who did something stupid? What would that lawsuit look like?
That's
or do you go bankrupt
big.
because I can't afford it?
Dude.
You go under.
Yeah.
Fake curriculums.
Same
fake
thing.
curriculums.
Same thing.
What do you know about that?
I mean, it's insanity. It's
Tell me about the curriculums, policies, procedures, whatever you want to call them, that you're helping our client providers write. As in, look, you got different waivers, you got VA, different policies and procedures. How are you helping people?
I mean, there's a lot of them that are requiring the licensure and the waivers are requiring certain policies. And we have those ready to go now. So it's never a problem. They're pretty standardized. Like I said, when you get into licensing and the waivers, there are certain policies that you know they're going to ask for.
Sure.
So we have those in place now.
There's a lot of people on the internet said you can get the operations manual.
Stop! That was one of my questions.
I knew that's a big
dude.
Jumping.
Seriously, buy it. What is it, dude? Damn, you jumped ahead. Did you see my notes?
No.
Man, because I was going to ask you. Man, you're getting ahead of my scamming question. Tell me about the how people. We'll do policy and procedures for $199.
The audit people that come in for a waiver, VA, whatever, before you even get your certificate, they'll look at your policy and procedure. And if it's, policy and procedure 101 and a template going, oh no, put Utah here, put Ohio here. Each
Did
one
you
is
just say templates?
Huh?
Because that's how I got that one on there too.
Templates.
You guys cheated. Because I was gonna, dude, man, you guys are
We know
killing me.
so much bad stuff.
I know.
So
that's where I
we
was
just
going
learn
to.
all the good
You
stuff.
guys, I'm telling you, you cheated. I was gonna ask you about. Tell me about plug in and fill in templates.
The policy and procedure, which should be called operations manual.
Agreed.
Policy and procedure has a buzzword out there that you need it, and you can go from $25. It might be a coloring book to $400. It's a word out there that everybody throws around, but you need it. You have to have you. Let me just say this: the software that you use and your operations manual runs your whole company. It really does.
Yeah.
And not to be negative, we had some clients that would call 2 months in. We go, it's on page 6. And they call again in 2 months. That's on page 87.
Yeah.
Anyways,
No, I like where you're going with this. My question I want to ask you about that specifically is when you're working with some of these people who come in and they supposedly have experience, or they may work with somebody else, and you look over their operations manual, their policies, procedures, whatever. How jacked up are some of these things that you guys are seeing?
you've made this reference. I'm trying to verbatim. It's such a mess if they come in and I have to clean it up.
Yeah.
So I'm back 2
Yeah.
months to clean up. I'd rather have a guy, a girl that doesn't know anything and say, do this, do this, do this.
True.
Or
But,
just throw that away and start
oh
over.
yeah,
Yeah.
just
Because it's
How
too
many
much
times?
work.
How many times you got to do that?
Several.
there is, there's a client out there that has spent $20,000.
I know where you're going with this.
Anyways, I
No,
I
go
love
ahead.
this dude.
Yeah, don't say his name right like
No,
that.
no. He got 0.
Yeah.
Literally. No,
We're
I
working
shouldn't
on it
take
though.
that back.
We're working on it.
Yeah,
though.
but anyways, go ahead. I'm kind of getting
No,
lost.
he
here.
got
I feel bad. That's
$20,000 to your.
He dangled the shiny apple in front of his
Yeah.
eye, and he sold it well,
I
but he
know
produced
exactly.
I
nothing.
don't care if you come with us or you don't, but you got you have to do your due diligence. You have to be smart.
What about, because I call it warm bodies, where some people think like they could put any warm body in that seat to fill the role, whether it be for a caregiver, someone working in your office, someone helping you run your home care agency. Even if you wanted to market, you can't just put any warm body in there.
And it's not to say that you can't train someone,
Agreed.
but you have to have some level to be able to screen people
Sure.
that you want to put in these key positions. I mean, do you really, if you're going to have somebody doing your invoicing, taking your monies in and out,
Yeah.
you better know who that person is.
Sure.
So it's important. You have to really screen the proper people to put in those positions. So yeah, experience is your best, but you can train.
True. All right. This is a couple of these.
I think you cheated, and you're just saying it was on there.
I swear you.
Okay.
I think I was talking to her. You were looking. So here's a couple of my favorites. What about you can make 7 figures in 6 months in the home care industry? And I'm watching it right now. One of your Facebook ads, fake
There's two that-
setups.
That one and the other one says you can make $10,000 with one client.
That's my very next one. You cheated.
No, those two
Look,
are
look right there.
killers.
They were in one.
That's because it's so outrageous and sinful.
Seriously.
But it's out there.
I talked about that in one of my previous videos. That you could get 10,000. That you can make 10. If you're making $10,000 off one client for personal home care, you're robbing them. You're robbing literally and figuratively. Like you're in their bank account or something. There's no way you're making There's no way you're making $10,000 a month.
If
off a
somebody
single client.
perceives that this coach or this client or whoever, and I believe wholeheartedly, they will open the checkbook up for stuff that is ludicrous that the average Joe wouldn't take. To get 10,000 from one client, it's impossible. I'd bet $1 billion if I.
What about you can build 7 figures in 6 months?
I wish.
How would you even do that? You can't even employ enough people in 6 months to do that.
I
That's
have
insane.
people.
No.
Now, when I say I have people, I'm in this industry all day long, and I see the Facebook ads and the
Better you than
comments.
me. I can't waste my time on Facebook.
These, you wouldn't believe how many people in their 7th month they haven't got a client. You wouldn't believe the people that have been a year and a half and haven't taken a paycheck. What they did was purchase a very cool job so I can go down to the water cooler, not the water cooler, but to sit there.
I
and
always
study.
refer to it as happy hour. People like to go to happy hour and tell their stories and brag about their
It's the
nonsense.
get rich quick scheme.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't work. You're gonna fail because they are trying to tempt you.
The economy just went crazy. People lost their jobs, and they want these things to happen. They want to think I can go
Folks,
spend
it's
this.
absolutely impossible. You cannot make $10,000 a month off for a single client. You are not going to make 7 figures in 6 months. It's not even mathematically possible, especially even though you got all this increased demand, people sitting in queues waiting to be placed. The reason they're sitting in the queues is because you don't have the labor force or the capacity to go service them.
Yeah.
So there's no way in heck, just off simple laws of economics and labor, you can't build a 7-figure business in 6 months. It's not going to happen. So anyone who's coming down their stairs by their Lambo and fake jets and all the setups and TED Talks, it's nonsense. That's why, too.
People want to believe what they hear because that's human nature. Oh, one client? Honey, we could.
So what about, some of these programs, you have to, within 6 months, you got to get your first client. Well, what do you do with someone, I can't get a client? What are you talking about? They're sitting there waiting in the queue.
Yeah. Well, you need to find a private client. It's typically how it is. So almost everybody knows a neighbor, a relative, someone from church that they
Sure,
can grab for
absolutely.
just a couple
When they
hours a
hear
week.
government work, they run. And that's kind of our claim to fame, to sit there and say, yes, you can make a ton of money off of contracts. The VA, the passport program. Anyways, people will run when you say that.
Do you think, you guys have obviously been successful with home care, community caregivers, because these guys are literally running their home care agency right now as we speak, as well as working with all these people around the country, helping them with home care access. Do you think that maybe if you guys got the fake jets and the fake Lambos, you'd be even more successful?
No.
It's a possibility.
I'd be richer, but I'd go to hell and I couldn't sleep at night. No, seriously, just do their due diligence, just common sense. The internet is full of
Exactly. Stay away from
shams,
the boat.
scams,
Exactly.
all that stuff.
Totally
So
agree.
just do your due diligence.
That's why we end up doing so much cleanup.
Yes.
That's why we do so much cleanup work. It's
For that one gentleman, my heart just bleeds that he's a good dude and
Oh,
he wants to do this so bad. But anyways,
So what do you think about, if we had to summarize everything here, tell me about, how would you summarize over the last 2 years working with all these different client providers, partnering with this one? What do you
that's
think?
been my favorite part.
Yes.
Go ahead.
What do you think? What would you,
I think it's all been great. I mean, I think that the people we're helping really have a desire, which is huge for us. I mean, if we're going to work with people that want to do what we do, it's not about, everybody wants to make money, but it's not just about the money.
sure, I agree.
You know, there has to be
But
a
you gotta make
mission.
money.
Yeah, you got to make money.
You want to stay in
Yeah.
business and help people, you gotta make
You
money.
do.
Now I'm going to brag on my wife. a lady, she just has no one to talk to. She's cleaning the house while she's talking. All she wants is somebody to listen to her. And I'm being totally serious now. That's all she wants.
Yeah.
And to sit there and be able to give that. But if we didn't get paid, I couldn't do it for the 40 other people out there. You know what I mean? So it's not just the money, but without the money, you can't produce the return.
They go hand
Totally
in hand.
agree. So, all right, came out here and you got the first preview of our software, our
That's
proprietary software system specifically for home care. What did you think of it?
I liked it. It's really coming along. I think it's going to be very user friendly. I think it's going to meet all the government regulations that are coming into
Mhm.
place. So it's a win-win, and you've built a financial platform in there.
Oh my
No
gosh.
doubt.
It eliminates the QuickBooks, eliminates
Yeah,
all that
it's a
stuff.
big deal.
And here's the key about
That's
it.
why it's been taking longer.
Here's the key of what you did. I won't say the VCRs because they wouldn't remember that. You don't. There's a lot of the other softwares that are out there, and they got tons of bells and whistles.
Agree.
We use 10%, and we
Exactly.
use the top right now. We use 10%. What's the quickest, fastest way?
Sure.
So I'm not putting them down, but you don't, to make money, you do not need all these bells and whistles, but the bells and whistles help sells it.
So you're excited about the software?
Yeah, I really
It's
like
a game
it.
changer.
Folks, the software, large investment in time, money, and effort, and sweat equity coming along. It's in beta form right now, doing a lot of testing. And these two are going to start testing it in depth, in detail. That's how committed we are to the home care
We're gonna
industry.
take 50 clients, run it. We know what to do to make this thing
Sure.
really runs well.
So when you're looking at all the schemers and the scammers, the get rich quick, you could do $10,000 a month off a single client. You could make 7 figures in 6 months. Do a deep dive. I always tell everybody, by all means, fact check everything I say. Fact check everything they say.
Mhm.
Fact check who they are, what they are, where they are, everything they do. You know we're committed to the home care industry, not only because you guys have been in it for 20 plus years, but I mean, we literally have invested a fortune into our software platform. So
Okay.
you know we're serious.
Can I give an advertisement?
Go ahead.
We show them who the top priority is, where to go. We show them where to go, who to sue. If you're talking to a social worker, this is what you say. If you're talking to a caseworker, this is what you say. I'll give you driving directions of where your day should be. I'm going to tell you who, how, what to say. And what I'm saying is, if I'm a newbie, give me the passion and we'll teach the rest.
Amen.
Mhm.
What do you think, sister?
I think it's going in the right direction. It's going well.
Do you still fear interviews?
Yes.
Come on, this wasn't bad. This was good.
It's
This
just-
was good. I was gentle.
She'd rather be sitting in front of Mrs. Simpson and
Yeah.
giving her tea.
Being here
It's gonna be a great. What'd you say the numbers was? Is 55?
55. The home care industry right now is 55 billion. It's projected to go to 100 billion and beyond. But right now it's projected to go to 100 billion, as compared to like the NEMT industry. Right now it's an $8 billion industry projected to go to 10.
And the reason, just
Demand. I mean, there's a reason you got baby boomers, but think about how many more people need home care.
Yeah.
You know, and
now I know the NEMT business. This is a wonderful marriage.
I agree. I totally agree. Especially after, I mean, you guys, all the people you've been working with come from NEMT, so it's
Right.
been even easier.
It's just a match.
Amen.
So
Anything else,
Good.
folks? Hope that you learned something. Hope you enjoyed it. Until we have another roundtable, I gotta come up with some new questions. But folks, hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for more content. When you do, I'll see you at the top.